So since our last assignment that we did, we've learned a lot of things. We've discussed about internal tables, types of internal tables. Then we've seen the control break statements. Then we've understood about select options, the selection screen. And then in the last session, we've discussed about messages. So let's put all of them together and do our next assignment. So for the next assignment, which I'll be doing now, I'll be enhancing the first assignment that we did. This is our first assignment that we did. And here, in this assignment, we are taking one document as input. And when we execute this program, it is displaying the header and item data about that particular document. So we are printing some details about that document, right? Now I want to enhance this report to handle multiple documents at once. So I want to provide an option to the user where he can input multiple documents on the selection screen. Currently, he can only give one document number, but I want to enhance it so that the user can now input multiple documents together at once. And when he clicks on execute, we'll print those documents one by one. So I'll print the header data and item data about one document, and then I'll print the header data and item data about the next document. Like that, I'll print information about each document. Okay, so let's see how to do this. So what I'll do is I'll copy this program so that you also know how to copy a program. So to copy a program, give the program name and click on this copy button. This button will, using this button, you can rename your program. So if you click on this, you can copy, and if you want to delete the program, you can click on this delete button. So in SE38, ABAP editor initial screen, give the program name and click on this copy. And let's say this is the second assignment. Click copy, select all. So it will copy all the documentation, screens, everything, and copy. So we'll make changes to this program. The first thing is I want to get rid of parameters, because now our program should consider multiple documents, not just one document. So instead of parameters, I should use select options, right? So I'll say select options, and the naming convention is S_VBLN. For we have to give a data object reference. So WAVBRP VBELN, because that has the data object. Okay, you can give any data object. Basically, it should be a document number. So as we discussed, what this will do, it will create a range table with those sign, option, low, high fields, and the length and type of the low and high field will depend on the length and type of this data object that you are providing here. So this is the first thing we have to do. So obviously it will give syntax error because I've removed pmatnar and I'm using them here. So let's not execute it yet. I'll save it. And the second thing, we have to consider this in our select query. Before that, earlier we were using a structure to select the header data, because if you give only one document number, then per document there is only one record in VBRK table, because that is the complete key of the table. But right now the situation is different. The user will be giving multiple documents. So when I query VBRK, it will return one entry per document. So if I give 10 documents in the selection screen to be considered for this program, then when I query VBRK, I should get those 10 rows for the 10 documents, right? So now our header also will receive multiple records. So I cannot use the structure anymore, because structure can only store one record. So I have to use an internal table also here. So I'll define one internal table. And since this structure I'll be using for a work area, I can use STVBRK, it doesn't make difference, but just to be clear with the naming conventions, I'll rename it as WAVBRK, and I'll define one internal table, ITVBRK, type standard table of TYVBRK. Okay, now I have an internal table ITVBRK and a work area for that internal table WAVBRK. And here I'll remove the single and into, instead of STVBRK, I'll select into table ITVBRK. Where VBLN, since we are using select options, I don't use the equal to operator. I'll use the in operator and let the system consider what to be included, what to be excluded. So I'm referring to SVBLN, and I'll change the where condition for this item data also, ITVBRK. Instead of equal to, I'll say in, and I'll say SVBLN. Okay. Now this will return us all the documents from both the tables. So now I can activate. Sorry, I still have this here. I'll comment out this code for now. So if I execute, now I get a selection screen with a range field where I can give multiple selection criteria. Now one thing you need to remember is, for example, if I'm giving this criteria, if I say process all the documents between 9,000, 900, 31400 to, let's say 500. So I'm asking it to process around 100 documents. It doesn't mean that it will return 100 documents. It will only return those documents that exist between this range. So if there are only 10 documents between this range, then it will return only 10 documents, right? If document 331,500 doesn't exist in the table, then obviously it will ignore that. Okay, it will not return anything. So there is no guarantee that if I'm giving 100 documents range, then all those 100 documents should exist in the table, and I'll get 100 documents in return when I execute the select query. It will only return whatever is available within this range. And if I execute now, it is just printing data like this. This is not how we want to print, right? We want to print the header, then that document's items, then the next document's header, and then that document's items. So we have to make few changes in the code for that in the output logic. What should we do? I can no more write my header here outside, because we are not just processing one document. We have to process multiple documents. And if I say something like this, loop at IT VBRK into WA VBRK end loop, and then if I say WA I could have used ST also for the name, it doesn't matter, but just to follow the naming conventions I'm using. So if I do this, for example, first I'm processing the IT VBRK loop, printing all the header, and then I'm processing IT VBRP and printing all the items, then the output will look something like this. It is printing the header 400 document, 401 document, then 402 document, then 403, 404, 405. Like that, it is printing all the documents header. And if once it prints all the header data for each document, then it will start printing the item details for each document. This is not how we want the output. We want the output to be print the header of first document, then its items, then the header of next document. That's how we want the output, right? So this is not how we should do it. So what I have to do, when you have a situation where you have two internal tables and you want to consolidate the data from those two internal tables, then you will have to loop one table and read the other table within the loop, right? Now, which table you loop, which table you read, that's a big question. Many beginners have some confusion. The simple rule is loop the table which has the main data. When it is, if it is a case of item and header data, then you always loop the item table and read the header table, because item table has more number of records per document compared to a header table, right? So when you're looping this item table, within the loop you read the header table when you want to process the header data of that document. But if in another situations, if you have multiple tables, then you'll have to loop one table and read the other tables within the loop. How do you decide which table you have to loop? In that case, you loop the table which is having the major data that you are printing. For example, if I want to print an output something like this, let's say I want to print the plan details of a material. So I'll print the material number and the plant number. Okay, these details we can get from one single table called MARC. I'll query that table to get my MARC and works. Works is the plant field in that table, and I can print the data. For example, 100 is the material and 1000 is the plant number. 200 is the material and let's say 1100 is the plant number. Like this, I'll print all the data. Now, just by looking at the number, we cannot understand what material it is. So we want to print the description of that material. Now this material and plant number I'm getting from MARC table, but the material description is not available in that table, MARC. We have to query MAKT table for that. So I'll also get data from MAKT. And when I'm processing this loop, for each material that I'm printing in the output, I have to read this MAKT table to get its description and print it as the second column. Okay, let's say pen. This description is stored in MAKT table. Right? Now you have a situation where you are dealing with two tables. One table is getting you data from MARC, that is Matnar and works, and one table is giving you the description of the material, that is MAKT. Now should I loop MAKT table and read MARC, or should I loop MARC and read MAKT? In this situation, you have to decide which is the main data and which is the supplemental data. The main data is material and plant, and the description is just supplement data because it is only enhancing whatever material I'm printing. For that, I have to get the description. The description itself is not the main data, right? So I loop the table which has the main data. In this case, MARC, and when I'm looping this and when I'm printing the material, I'll query MAKT to get its description, whichever material I'm printing the output. For that material, I'll query MAKT to get its description and print it in the output. Okay. So that's how you decide which table to loop and which table to read. And in situations when you're dealing with multiple tables, you'll always loop one table and read the other tables. So in this case also, I can select the data separately. Now you may say another way we can do it is, instead of writing the select here like this, I'll comment this and printing it like this. In this loop, I'm processing the item data, and when I'm processing this, I can write a select within the loop saying select single these fields select single these fields from VBRK into WA VBRK structure, where VBLN equals to whatever VBLN I'm processing currently. So that is WA VBRP VBELN. Okay, and then I can write my header. I can write this header data and then give some space and write the item. This also I can do. Let's see this in debug mode. Select single into WA. There is no table. This is what happens when you copy paste the code. So I'll keep a breakpoint here and execute. I'll give a shorter range, 4 documents only. Now if you see IT VBRP and WA VBRP, and this also I'll keep it as a structure. And we'll see WA VBRK here. So in the first loop, the first record of IT VBRP is copied to my work area. So it is also getting me the document number. I'm comparing this document number, WA, VBRP, VBLN. I'm comparing this document number to select from VBRK, these fields, right? When I execute this, the select will execute and it is getting me for the document, it is getting me these details, which I'm printing in the output. Okay, and I'm writing the item. But since this ITVBRP is an item table, for one document there will be multiple records. Now it is going to the second loop and it is again executing the select. Even though the document number is same, it will still execute that select and it gives me the same data and I'm printing the same header data again, right? And the item data. So now what happens in the output? It will print header, one item, again header, next item, again header, next item. We don't want that. We want header and all the items at once. So header should only print once per document. But now if I write my code like this, it is printing header for each item, right? So I'll do it till the document number changes, but I think there are 9 documents. Anyways, I'll execute it. So now if you see, it is printing the description, item heading, then the document header, then the item, then again the document header, same document, again the item, right? This is not how we want it. And it is printing this heading before even processing the loop. So first change I'll make is I'll move this heading to before the items. So how do we restrict? This particular code should only execute when we are processing a new document. Only once per document. How do we restrict it? By using the control break statement at new VBELN. Okay. Whenever you are using this at new statement, make sure your internal table is sorted. So I can say before the loop sort IT VBRP by VBELN so that all the entries are sorted by the document. And then I'll keep it till here. So if I'm restricting this code to be executed only when the document changes. And even this code, the column headings should also print only once per document, right? So I can keep this code also within the block so that every time a new document is printed, it will print the column headings. Now let's see this in debug mode. What's happening? I'll keep it as 1 so that we can go to the next document. So now in the first loop, if you look at this, so it's selecting, it's executing the select statement within the loop and it is getting the first document details 401. Then we are printing this header, then printing the column headings for the item, and then printing the actual item details, right? And this 401 document also has multiple items. So in the second loop, it is processing the same document but item number 2. Since the document number is same, this at new will not be triggered. So it will skip that whole block and simply print the item details. Okay, so now you understand why we need these control break statements. So that I can restrict my code within the loop only once per document. Okay, so like that it will process. And when the document changes, so in this example, if you see here, this 401 has around 9 items. So in the 10th loop, that at new block should again trigger because the document is changing, document number, and it should again print the header data. So if I execute, finish my execution, So here see, it is printing the header data for 401 document, printing all the item details, and then it is printing the header data for 402 document, and then printing all its item details. Right? So that way we have achieved this requirement where we are restricting the formatting the output in such a way that you print the header for one document, its items, then the header for next document. So I can say skip to, and here also I'll say skip, so that I get one line space. Okay, so this way we can do it. But the problem here is that we are executing the select statement in each loop, which is very bad, right? Never write select queries within loop, because in each loop you are hitting the database. So whenever you want this header data, you're going and hitting the database. So you're hitting multiple times. So if this report is processing, let's say 1000 documents, then you'll be hitting the database 1000 times. That is not good from a performance point of view. So we never write select within the loop. So I'll get rid of this. What I'll do is I'll write the select outside the loop to get all the data at once into my program, into my internal table for all those documents. And within the loop, I'll use the read statement to read the data from the internal table, because it's much faster to read the data. And since the data is available locally in my program, I can read it as many times as I want. It won't cause any performance bottlenecks. But if you are hitting the database in loop, then it will cause a lot of issues with the performance. So I'll say read table it VBRK. I'm just replacing that select single with read. VBRK into WA VBRK with key VBELN equals to WA VBRP VBELN. So now if I execute this, so I have this ITVBRP data and WVBRP data, and then WVBRK. So in the first loop, first document is processed, at new is triggered. So it is reading my internal table, which is already having the data because I selected it previously outside the loop at once. Now I'm reading from that internal table by comparing whatever document is being currently processed by the item structure. So this 400. And it will what this read statement will do is it will scan my internal table to locate this document and copy that record into my work area. This will also take time, but it is much faster compared to writing a select single. And it prints the header details. And I'm pressing F5, executing each statement. Then I'm printing the item details. Now, next document, since the document number is same, the at new block is completely ignored. And then item details, right? So this has around 9 documents. So either I can keep pressing F5 like this, or I have a breakpoint within this at block. So I'll press F8, so it will directly go to the next document. Right? Now we have document 401 being processed. So at new block is triggered. Again, now it is reading this internal table to get the details about my 401 document. So it's reading the header table, ITVBRK, and copying the 401 document details to WVBRK, which I'm again printing. Like that it is doing. So the third document, 402, fourth document, 403. Right. So like that I'm printing header, item for each document. Okay. Now when I'm executing this read statement, it is performing a linear search because this is a standard table and I'm using a free key, right? That is fine if your internal table has less records. What if this internal table ITVBRK has 10,000 records or 1 million records? Then each time this read statement is executed, it has to scan the whole table manually till it identifies or locates your record, right? So to improve the performance of this read statement, I have a couple of options. I can sort this ITVBRK table before the loop by VBELN, and with this read statement I can add this binary search addition so that instead of performing a linear search, it will perform a binary search, which is much faster compared to linear. So I can improve the performance of this read statement because it really makes a difference. Right now you won't be able to see the difference because we are processing very less data. But if the situation is that this ITVBRK itself has 10,000, 20,000 records, then you will be able to see the difference in the time it takes to execute the read statement. So one way to improve is use it this way. It's much easier because you just have to sort this table by whichever fields you are using in your read statement. So since I'm reading only by VBELN, I'm sorting by VBELN. Okay. Or else we can use secondary keys while defining this table. So while defining ITVBRK, I can say with non-unique default key, and then I can also say with unique hashed key by VBELN components VBELN. Now I'm defining a hash key for this internal table, and when reading, the name of the key is by VBELN, and I have this VBELN. So it whenever you add a record to this table, it automatically generates this, uses this key to generate the index. And here I can say with table key, because we want to use the hash function. Table key, my key name, components, this equals to this. I no more have to use the binary search. Okay, and I don't even need the sort function. I don't even need to sort it. Since the system already has a secondary key maintained by VBELN, I can use this in the read statement. And since I maintained it as a hash key, which is unique, then it uses the hash function to read. So it will always take the same time for this read to execute, even if it has 1 record or 100,000 records. It doesn't matter, right? So I've drastically improved the performance of my read statement. This you'll really understand when you work in real time and write programs, because in production we have lots of data. And if you're working for an MNC, that company will have hundreds of thousands of sales orders or invoices, right? And when you're selecting data from database table, you'll have such huge data to process in your programs. So when you process such kind of data, these things will really make a difference, right? So this one key defining a key, secondary key for my table and using it in my read statement will drastically improve the performance of my whole program. Because otherwise, if you perform a linear search, then it will really take a lot of time for the system to scan the whole table and find the matching record, right? So this way we can use these secondary keys as per your flexibility. Okay, you're aware of the syntax. Define the secondary key using this syntax. We've seen that previously. If you want, you can go and revise that topic again. And while reading, we specify the key name and components and use the components. So this is how you can use a secondary key. So we had the option of writing a select within the loop, and we had the option of just using the linear search. That was simple and easy, but that both of them are very bad from a performance point of view. Writing a select, this program will work, but it will degrade the performance of your program. That's why this is the best approach. So it may take some extra effort, but make sure You define a secondary key. Again, you have to take this call. You have to weigh the performance benefits compared to the administrative resources it takes for the system to maintain these keys and all these things. General rule is, if this table is getting updated very frequently, if you're changing this data a lot of times, then avoid using more keys because that adds to the cost of maintaining the tables. But if this table is not getting updated frequently, then you can have the keys. Okay. So this is another way of doing it. So I'm writing the read statement. Now we are using the at new control break statement to identify that we are processing a new document and accordingly read this header table and print the data. Some people also do this. Some people I've seen when I review their assignments, they'll keep this read outside the at new block. That will also work. Your program will still give the same output, but what happens? You are unnecessarily executing this read in each loop even if you don't need it, right? So that also again will affect the performance of your program. So that's why we'll execute the read only when we need it by keeping it in the at new block. And yesterday I said when we are using this control break statements, the work area will not be accessible, right? But I'm applying the control break on VBLN, and here I'm comparing VBLN only. So I don't have to worry about it. This VBLN will be accessible. But if I want to compare any other field of this WVBRP structure, then I'll only have stars here in the control break. So I have to use a temporary structure to move my data, which we've seen in the previous session when we were talking about control breaks, right? So in this case, we don't need that because we are applying the control break and we are only using that field within the control break. So that data is anyway accessible. So this is one way. Now I'll enhance this assignment a bit more. This is my output currently. I'm printing the header, item, then header of the next document, its items, right? Once I finish printing all the items, somewhere here under the net value, it's printing item level net value. I want to summarize, sum up them and print the total net value below this. Something like a subtotal. For each document, I want to print subtotal at the end. How do I do it? For that, I need to identify that this is the last item in the current document. Then I can print the subtotals, right? How do I identify that? Again, I can use the control break statement at end of VBLN. So this at end of block will be triggered when the next document is different from the current document. So for the last item, the current document number will be 900-400 and the next will be 401. So this will trigger the control break. So I know that this is the last item I am processing. So I can say write 80, let's say subtotal, and I'll print at 85. Since our header already has the subtotal, I'll print it here. I'll also show you another way. So I'm using the at end of block to identify that the last item in the current loop, and at the end I'm printing this subtotals. The space is not sufficient, so I'll change the, instead of 80 I'll keep it 75, and it's printing leading spaces, so I'll say let's justify it. Okay, so at the end of last item, okay, I have to write it below. I have to write it here, so that after printing the last item, I will print the subtotal. Okay, after printing the last item, we are printing the subtotals, which is same as the subtotal net value we are printing here. Okay, if I want, I can also sum up the values individually. For example, I can define one data object, let's say v underscore total, type netwr, same as my net value, and within the loop I can say v underscore total equals to v underscore total plus the item's net value. So in each loop it will keep on adding the item, and then here I can print v underscore total. This is another way of doing it. So now instead of relying on the header's net value, I'm summing up the item data net value in each loop, and once I print that, I have to prepare it for the v underscore total field for the next document. So I'll clear v total, so it again resets and starts again for the new document. So you can check in debug mode to understand exactly. So it's printing this document subtotal, then this document subtotal. So we are just manually adding up, right? Why am I clearing it? Because after printing the subtotal, in the next loop, the new document starts. And if I don't clear this, it will keep on adding the previous document's total to the next document items, right? So I'm clearing it so that it resets and starts again from 0. So this is how you can handle it. Another way is in end of block, you can actually use this keyword sum. And I don't need to do this. I can comment it out. And here I can simply print WAVBRPs NETWR. The system will automatically sum up this column in the structure, in the internal table, and print it here. So you don't have to do any of these things. So this is an automatic way of handling it. So in end of block, you can use this keyword sum. And after that, whichever field you specify, the system will automatically sum up that column. Okay, so it is summing up the column automatically. So this is also another way. So in ABAP, you will always have this situation where you have 10 different ways to do the same thing. And either I can manually total, or I can, since in this case we also have the value in the headers documents field, I can use that, or I can use this sum addition, some keyword within the end of block to automatically add up that column, net value column. Okay, so these are the different ways. So now you know the purpose of select options. It is allowing us to provide the user an option to provide complex selection criteria, or to make our program consider multiple documents at once, right? So this is the purpose of select options. And we have used the control break statement at new to identify the new document where we can print the header data. We have used the control break statement at end of to identify that we are processing the last item in the current document so that we can print subtotals, right? Like that. You can use these control breaks. And let's add some validation. If the select is not successful, if we don't get any documents, then obviously it will display a blank screen in the output. And the user may again say, your program is not working fine. So what I can do is, I can write a validation if size sub RC initial, that means the select failed. I can say message your message. I'm using the text literal to save time, but you can use text symbols or message class. No data found, or no documents exist, something like that, type. And since if no documents are found, we cannot proceed with the program execution, so I'll say type E, error message. Okay. Whenever we are dealing with selection screen and want to show some messages, we have to use selection screen events so that the message is formatted correctly, but I won't use it because we haven't discussed about it. In the next sessions we'll be discussing, so at that time we'll make it good. Right now it will return, but let me give some invalid document. So I'll ask it to process these documents and they shouldn't exist. And when I execute, it is giving me this error message. But if you see the selection screen has disappeared and the user cannot input anything, it's not the right way. So if I use this event, don't worry about these events. For now, just use it blindly and keep the message, and after the message, use this another event startup selection. We'll discuss this topic next about these events. The only thing that does now is it displays the error and stays on the screen so that I can correct my input. If I don't use that, then it was showing another screen where I could not correct the entry, right? So this is the purpose we are using this event, but there are many other use cases for using these events. We'll discuss in detail later. But for now, just to make your program working, simply say add selection screen and write the code where you are handling the message, and after that say startup selection and write your remaining code. Okay, if I forget this statement startup selection, then it won't show any output. So just say startup selection, write your remaining code. What is startup selection, what is that selection screen, we'll discuss later. So this is our report. So we have expanded the report functionality to consider multiple documents at once. We have added the validation. We are showing an error message, and we've also used the control break statements to identify the new document, and we've also used the secondary key to improve the performance of our read statement. So we've almost used all of those things we learned so far after our first assignment. Whatever we learned in this week, we've almost used all of them to handle this requirement. And you now know the purpose of each one of those. What is the purpose of using the secondary keys? How it has helped me with this program? What is the purpose of messages? How it is helping our program? Right? What is the purpose of this control break statement? How it is helping our program? And what is the purpose of this at end of statement? Right? So hope you are comfortable with this assignment. You can check the website for the assignments that you should be doing after this video and start working on those assignments. So they'll be different. You still have to apply the knowledge you gained so far in this training to achieve those assignments, but the requirement will be different. So that way it should be challenging for you to test your understanding. Okay, so see you in the next video. Thank you.